I hope it works. So hello everyone, my name is Klaudia Jaskula, and thank you for introduction, Professor Cheng. Today I will show you the prototype that I developed in the last year. It's a prototype of the centralized common data environment, and afterwards I will show you the results of the evaluation. Where is the...
Then you can try
this one.
This one should work.
Okay, sorry. So first I would like to start with explaining what is the current status quo of the industry, like what are the problems that stakeholders are facing in everyday life. So I conducted a series of interviews with industry stakeholders and people who are using CDEs basically every day. And actually the biggest problem is that we do not have a single source of truth. We have a lot of sources of truth that are used in the same time. So we can have like even 3, 4, 5 different CDEs used in this construction phase and in the design phase. And then later on in the operation phase, we have a complete different set of tools that are used in the same time. So using all of those tools leads to lack of traceability and transparency in construction projects because they are not integrated with each other, and often stakeholders are transferring data manually between them. So our proposal is not to provide another CDE to replace all of the ones that we have currently in the industry, but rather to integrate them with blockchain. So this would allow stakeholders to keep using the tools that they know, as they are like very advanced tools, and it would be like a major task to provide one tool that could do everything during the whole construction operation and design phase. So we propose to use smart contracts to record the transactions from different CDEs. They would have to connect to the APIs of each of the tools and record the transaction metadata on the blockchain. However, as everybody knows, blockchain is not really a tool to store a massive amount of data like BIM files. That's why we would either have to keep the data physically still on the clouds, or we could move all of the data to IPFS storage, or we can do this partially, like some data on the cloud and some on the IPFS for more security. So this is like a short video of the tool that I developed so that we can see, so that the stakeholders could see how this would really look like in practice. So we just log into the platform and we have a dashboard with some basic information, like number of transactions that we participated, some notifications, a status of verification, because smart contracts can also verificate if or validate if the data was not tampered with, which is a very important function. And then in the bottom, we have this list of all of the transactions, so the transaction history from all of the different CDEs, which we can then extend to a full view. So this is basically a list of all of the events that would happen in each of the construction projects. So all metadata, such as the date of transaction, the user, the name, the type of the file, also like what the file is about, because the file name is not always saying what is inside. And also the types, so like if it was viewing, submission, revision, sign off, like any type of transaction happening in CDEs would be basically recorded in this list. And this table would be like fully customizable, so we can select what we see and in which order, and then we can also filter the data. So this would be like a really single source of truth where everything would be, and where we could search all of the tools at once. So we can, for example, search for the files from BIM 360, or just add another filter, such as looking for RFIs. And then also we have like a more customizable view, which would show like your selected transactions that you are most interested in. And then when we click on each of the transactions, we see more information about each of the files. So we see the previous versions, and we can also see the full history of each of the files. So if we extend it here or from the sidebar, it shows you what happened to this file before, but it also shows all the linked files. So for example, in this case, we see the files connected to the facade, so that we have an overview what happened in the project regarding the facade planning. And then again, we can extend the view and see more information about the selected file, like who did what and when. We can see the preview, which we can also extend. So this would be linked to the CDE. Like if it would be, for example, a file from BIM 360, we could have a quick preview in this tool to not go every time to the CDE, but we can also go to the CDE if we wish to. And then, yeah, like we can select different type of files. So it doesn't have to be facade, it can be like single file like in display, so we see the previous versions. And another way to see this history would be the timeline view, which is more like a visual way to present the information flow. So again, this is about the facade. So we see everything what was happening in the project regarding the facade planning. And we see like we have a lot of parallel ways, so we can understand better how long some of the actions took. And then like when we hover over each of the files, we see more information, and we can also click on it, and then it will take us to the preview of the file. So I evaluated this prototype using two methods. So first I conducted a focus group with 8 BIM managers that are using CDEs in everyday life. So I showed them the tool live, and we had a live discussion to talk like about the advantages and like how the tool could be developed in a different way, or like what are the benefits that they see, and then they could fill the survey to answer some simple questions. And the second part of the evaluation was individual user study. So I invited 12 BIM managers and I sent them the link to this demonstration and also a survey. And in the end, I conducted like direct semi-structured interviews to discuss the tool in more depth. So some basic results of the focus study survey showed that the users are actually, they find the tool very useful and also like easy to use, intuitive, user-friendly, and practical. The only critic that they expressed was about the flexibility. So they were not sure if this tool is useful for all of the stakeholders in construction. Like they said, it's maybe more suitable for the management layer, and they would like to have it more like a practical use, like, yeah, a more everyday use for like architects and engineers. And then I asked some questions more regarding the benefits for construction industry. So if the tool improves the transparency, it reduces the disputes, provides more trust in data. And as you can see, all of them agreed that this would increase the transparency of the project and put more trust in data. But they were not all, not all agreed that it would be lower risk for company by using this tool, or if it would protect data ownership and provide more security. These are like the second part of the same question. So they also like all agreed that it would provide better interoperability between the CDs and provide even playing field. So the second part of the evaluation was the individual user study. So this is the list of the participants. It were mostly BIM managers, but also some project managers and people developing CDEs, so the software vendors, and people developing the standards about CDEs, like the ISO or the DIN standard. And all of them use CDEs in everyday work. And again, they were invited to answer the survey, and most of them agreed that it would be a useful and practical and supportive tool. But I would like to discuss more like the results of the interviews, because they are more detailed. So to analyze the transcript of the interviews, I used a SWOT analysis to identify the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats of this tool. But I also added 2 more categories which were not fitting to the SWOT analysis. So that would be more about the future development, like suggestions what this tool could be, but also some open questions, like something that is to be discussed. So the main strengths of using blockchain-based CDE in the way that I proposed would be the integration of all of the CDEs. So they said it would be very beneficial to have this underlying system that acts as a governor to all of the data. But also blockchain is a neutral solution. So we do not have any vendor locking and everybody can have the same access rights to the data. Also, they found the tool very user-friendly and they said it would be easy to work with it. And another benefit is of course, more transparency, more immutability, so no risk of tampering with data. And very important aspect is the legal, having a legal proof in case of a dispute, as data in the blockchain is indisputable in a court, and also having more security than the cloud. However, there are also some weaknesses that they identified. So especially the vulnerability of off-chain data, because as we know, we cannot put all of the data on the blockchain. So what happens to the large files? Are they still closed? Or are they still stored on the cloud or locally? Is it secure? Also, they said that it is probably more a solution for large-scale projects, and small companies would probably have difficulties with embracing this solution. Also, they felt like blockchain could slow down the process. However, I'm not really agreeing with this, I guess. And they were also skeptical about putting all of the sensitive data on the public blockchain. But there are also some solutions for that, so we can use some encryption methods to not have it all public. And the opportunities that this tool have, as I explained in the beginning, we have all of those multiple CDEs that we are using. And the interviewers confirmed this, that yes, they are using those different tools and it would be very useful to connect them in some way. And also other problem is that the companies don't really like to share their data with the other companies, and that's why they are using the different tools, because they don't want to give the control to other company, and that's why they are using those to protect their ownership. There is also a need to have reporting dashboard to have all of the information in one place, and to integrate solutions that are not only CDEs but also other systems outside of the building, connecting to smart city system and digital twins of other products. And some threats about blockchain and decentralized CDEs are first, maybe lack of compliance from the vendors. So because we need to connect with their APIs, we need kind of their allowance to do this. So they might be reliant to give this access. And there are also a lot of other competitive solutions. So there are also solutions like data lakes or shared servers between companies. So that might be something that stakeholders would maybe prefer. And also lack of interest, which is basically mostly caused by low adoption of blockchain. It's a new solution, so people don't have yet the trust in the technology. So I guess they need more education, and we need more time to get this trust, so they are not suspicious anymore. And about the future developments, there were few interesting ideas. So first of all, they see the need to introduce the workflows in this tool so that we can connect workflows between different CDEs. Right now, it's not possible. We have to do one workflow inside of one CDE, so it would be useful to start something in one CDE and move it to the other. Also the AI integration, of course, to analyze the data and provide some predictions. Linking this to automatic payments, if we would have this record of all of transactions, it would be useful to connect it with the payments as well. And providing a 3D viewer inside of the tool, providing a validation of requirements and BIM requirements, and also integrating BIM or open formats, especially the development of open CDE API would be very advantageous for this idea. And there are some open questions which are, a challenge to answer. So first, the data location, what data is stored where, how much data do we put on the blockchain or IPFS, and how much do we put on the cloud? Is it not duplicated? We don't want to provide an unsustainable solution to just duplicate everything on the IPFS. Doesn't make sense either. Also, is data stored in Europe? As, for example, some countries like Germany, they require that the data is stored on European servers. Can blockchain do this? Can we divide the blockchain so that it's all based on European nodes? Also, the security, but more like, does blockchain comply with the ISO standards? And does it comply with European security law as well? And if it's possible to provide a bidirectional connection so that we can feed the data back from the blockchain to the CDEs, because recording is not a problem, but can we like still use this data? And also the permission management needs consideration, because if we connect them to the CDEs, how does it relate to the existing permission rights? Like, it's something to think about. So yeah, with this, I would like to finish my presentation, and I will be happy to discuss these questions and everything and answer your questions. So thank you very much.